Just have our next speaker coming to the stage. Okay. Hi. So I'm very pleased now to be joined by Tiago Valente. He's an endurance athlete, a mental health advocate, an entrepreneur and the founder of the NOSHAME Movement. Tiago understands and knows depression from his own personal experience with depression, but also as a child when his mother suffered from depression. The NOSHAME Movement, which he has founded, exists to turn silent battles into loud voices. And in doing this, Tiago is bringing together his professional experience, his passion for sports and men's mental health, and working in an advocacy sense to be able to promote why it's important to fight stigma, to talk about depression and particularly men's mental health. Welcome, Tiago.
Thank you.
Great to have you here today. So, just as a bit of an opening question, you are an endurance athlete, a triathlete, now a mental health advocate, and you have an background in entrepreneurship, and you founded the NOSHAME Movement. So, what led you down this path in life? How did you end up sitting on this couch with me today talking about mental health?
That's a good question, and it's something that I would never imagine, like last year or even 2 years ago. I don't know, I think life unfolded this way somehow. And I think that putting the pieces together, I think just it makes sense. And everything started like when I had depression, around 3 years. And I was in my normal corporate job. Mm-hmm. But actually, I wasn't happy. And I always wanted to work for myself, have a business or have a company. Which is funny because it was something that my father always told me that since I was a kid, Tiago, never work for yourself, never have a company. So I don't know if it was trying to prove that I couldn't, that I could, but or something like a inner design. So after that, and this of course after the depression was a decision that I was thinking, but endurance sports was something that and triathlon in this case was something that I joined, mm-hmm. and I started when I was diagnosed with depression, and it was a tool that really helped me. So putting together, I think, I'll never imagine, and it was long, far away to be a plan, but long, now looking backwards, it makes sense somehow. I don't know.
Sometimes life does that. You've shared a bit on your NOSHAME Movement website about your personal experience with depression. And I just wondered if you could share a bit with us today about how depression affected you as an adult, but also your experience as a child, living with someone who had depression. So you've kind of got both sides of the audience today.
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. When I was a kid, my mom was hospitalized 3 times in different phases of my life during my adolescence, and the last time I think I had 18 years old already. Mm-hmm. And the second time I was a teenager, I remember that I refused, was a taboo, and I played football, so I started playing football since my 8 years old, and it was something that I was embarrassed. I was ashamed because back on time, actually going to psychologist was, you are crazy. Why you are going to psychologist? And I remember my mother telling me to go, even to know how to deal with the environment at home. And I refused. I refused a lot of times. And today, of course, I regret that. But it was something that actually I should have done. But I think that there was no information. There was, unfortunately, things were very in a different state. Then growing up, and of course, in football, the environment is, it's a huge taboo. You cannot show weakness. You have to be strong. You have to provide at least outside a good image that you are strong. Growing with that, actually, I think it put a pressure on me to maintain that image. So when I was diagnosed with the depression, I was actually unhappy with my life. I was in a situation of my marriage that I was about to divorce, but more than that was actually my professional life. From outside, the perspective was that everything was good. You have a good life, you have a good job. You live in Dubai. Why you are unhappy? You don't have any reasons to be unhappy. Mm-hmm. Why you are that? You just need to be happy. Just come on, be strong. So, and actually, when you listen to that, it's even worse. It's like, man up. What is man up? No, it's not like that. So and I started actually. I felt that, and somehow my desire for I always did sports, but not in competition until I get back to triathlon. And I just jumped into a training camp, and was a 1 week full intensive. But it was kind of my escape, and it was actually after that week it felt me it was a magic, like a magic pill. And after that, I was in love with the triathlon, and I just continued.
And how did you then, you said you were feeling really unhappy, even though from the outside it looked like you really had everything that one's meant to want in life.
Yeah.
How did you first verbalize to someone then that you weren't okay?
Well, actually, that was actually a journey and the process that I did with my therapist, because only my ex-wife knew. And actually my ex-boss, my ex-manager, and only he knew, because I had to take like a week or 2 weeks off, and I gave him the diagnosis, and he told me, okay, don't worry, I will not tell anybody, not even HR. I said, okay, thank you. But actually today I regret, because only doing that we are actually we are basically saying that, yes, it's a taboo, it's a stigma.
Hide it.
Exactly. Why there is an issue to hide? When we had COVID, everyone knew it. So what is the problem? So that was a point, but only my ex-wife and my ex-boss knew. And then with the time, I started to vocalize with my best friend, and then to my parents. Although my parents already suspected, but I think, especially my mom, I think that she didn't want to kind of accept it, in the sense that she was sad to, okay, you inherited this from me, I'm sorry. Actually, we had a conversation, and she said that, I'm sorry that I passed this to you. I said, look, you don't have, there is no fault, we can't avoid it. So the same way that I can't avoid to my son, it runs in my blood, so I hopefully he will not have it. What I can do is talk with him and tell him that it's normal, and what we can do to try to avoid and try to understand if we are feeling that path or not, and then seek for help. So it was not at the beginning. It was tough, but then after that, just it's normal. I had my own process that took around a year to accept it, vocalize it, and.
Okay. And once you reached that point, so, you'd accepted your diagnosis and you started wanting to share that as opposed to hide that, which is excellent. What are the kind of things you do now to manage your depression? What is your, obviously sport is part of it.
Yeah.
What are the routines? What's in your daily life that helps you?
Actually, I was listening to the professor, and one good thing is actually sleep. Sleep and we have a dog and cat relationship, because I tend to sleep a lot. I'm a night owl instead of early bird. But when I wake up early, my mood is completely different. I'm a different person. My mood, my energy, of course, during the afternoon, energy goes down. So I try to force myself to wake up early, or as early as possible, and do exercise in the morning. Because when I do that, actually, I already have check in the box, and I knew that, okay, you did the first thing for yourself, and it's almost like a self-accomplishment, and I feel good with myself, and I feel it, and everyone feels it. And actually, it's interesting when I again started triathlon in the office. I was always the guy that arrived into the office in the edge, in the limit, like late. But when I started doing, because I was in Dubai, I had to wake up very early, etc. I was the first one arriving to the office with a lot of energy. So they felt a huge difference. And I was even able to cope with a lot of discussions, with more patients, etc. So I'm trying to do that. Also, one thing that I learned also with therapy is journaling, which is interesting, because it's something that I never was a guy to write. I was never a good student. But actually, sometimes I feel like every other month, I feel the need to just take it off and put it something in a paper, and so those two things, and of course trying to have healthy kind of lifestyle. And yeah, avoid cookies. Cookies away. So yeah.
Well, that's a tough one. You've touched a little bit on, when you first had your diagnosis and your manager said it's okay, we'll keep it our secret. Why do you think, particularly in a corporate environment, but outside of that as well, it's more difficult for men to say, I'm not okay, or I have a diagnosis of depression?
Yeah, good point. I think, unfortunately, it's one of those topics that we inherit from society, unfortunately, that everyone puts the image that man has to be strong, man cannot cry, has to provide, is the alpha male. And that image is not connected to a man crying or a leader showing weakness or showing vulnerability. So I think, especially in a corporate environments, when you are leading teams or companies, if you say that, you are eventually saying that, okay, other people can do it as well, and consequently it will go down. But actually it's quite the opposite, because if you show your vulnerability, and it happened already, knowing a lot of examples in the past weeks in a few other talks, that a few managers talking and saying that I felt down, or I feel this way, or seek help, etc. People from their team actually say the same, and they start opening, because they see that having someone that is leading them, that it's vulnerable, it's actually a human being, it's not someone that it's supposedly like just a figure from outside that has to be strong. That shows like a real example. So I think that is something that we still need to fight, the society, the stigma, and there's a lot of things related with literacy, in my humble opinion, mental health literacy, because there are still a lot of people that don't know that depression, and don't accept that depression is actually a disease. And that's the first thing, I would say. Accepting, learning, understanding what is the disease, what it does, how can you recognize a few things that we just learned today. And yeah, and we need to step by step changing, or trying to change the society, because it's not in a good way, for sure.
Thank you. I think that brings us nicely to the No Shame movement. So, I mean, you've proudly got your T-shirt on today. And I guess, yeah, it'd be great to hear a little bit more. I mean, I think your story has led you to this place where you've started this movement. But what is it that you want to achieve through this movement, and what does it mean?
Yes, so actually all of this started as just as a fundraising campaign when I was... when I knew that I got a slot to do an extreme triathlon race in Patagonia, which unfortunately I was not able to do it because of an injury, which was something that I had to deal with myself mentally. So it started in a way that raising awareness to it's not a shame to have depression, and it was a tool for me to go for sports, and in this case triathlon, but it doesn't need to be triathlon. It can be just running, or football, or tennis, or whatever. And the reason why was because I had a lot of friends, especially in Dubai, that they were saying that I admire your discipline, your consistency. I said, no, bullshit, I'm not disciplined. I'm the worst guy to... Actually, I need to push myself to do that. And the one thing that I do it, and everyone calls me crazy, and eventually I am, is that I register first, and then I go after the... So, okay, you register, now you need to train, otherwise. So and because of that, I pushed myself to do that, because it gives me the structure. And so that was how it started. And from that, people start talking, and with the help also with some other NGOs in Portugal, some support from entities. But the objective is very simple, which is what we were talking about. Fighting the stigma, because there is no reason to have stigma around men's mental health, in this case, particularly in depression, because no one has an issue to talk that I'm with a back pain, right? What is the issue? So what is the problem that we have to say, when we say that I'm going to the psychiatrist? But are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay, well, but I'm going to the psychiatrist. Yeah. So the same way that when we say that we are going to the dentist, everyone is normal. So that's the thing, that's the goal, to help other men through support and with sports, that they are not alone, not suffer in silence like I did in the beginning, and help to destigmatize something that should be normal, talking. So, yeah, hopefully.
congratulations on starting it.
Thank you.
I mean, you're based in Portugal now, but you've also worked and lived in Dubai for a long time. So is the work that you want to do with the movement, do you see it as, Portuguese-based or crossing further? What's your dream?
That's a tricky question because my mind is always overthinking and ambitious. So I would say my first thought is worldwide. No, but Portugal for sure, and starting, and we are working to turn it to an NGO for next year, which is crazy, something that just started, like I said, as a fundraising campaign. And then hopefully having ambassadors and then going through Europe. So that's the next step. But first in Portugal, because we still have a lot of things to do. For instance, in football clubs, it's a huge taboo, not only football clubs, but football, because I played football and I was inside and we knew it. And that's the feeling that, man up, be strong, don't cry, don't show that you are weak, otherwise they will eat you up. That's just stupid. I mean, of course, there is a fine line that you have to be strong and resilient, but show vulnerability is also not, it's also okay. So yeah, for sure, Portugal, and then we'll see.
And then the world.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. You should be able to see on your screens now a QR code which you can scan. So if you want to find out more about Tiago and his movement, then you can definitely do so there. And we have some time now for questions. So if anyone in the audience has a question they would like to ask, then feel free to add that. And whilst we wait to see if there's any, I've got a question. Also, as a parent of a son, as a mother of a son, I mean, I think mental health and what you're doing around men's mental health and making it okay to have the conversation is really important. And I guess I was just interested in, what does it mean for you as a father to reduce stigma for men talking about mental health?
Well, like I said, first is, and this started as a selfish thing, like I wanted to create something that my son grows up in an environment that is normal, right? Everyone talks about sugar. I usually give this example. And nobody has issues to talk that sugar is bad or diabetes. I used to have a girlfriend that she had diabetes and it was tough. But there was no issue around that, saying that, yeah, diabetes, okay, and everyone understands, etc. So the same thing that depression. We learned that it's a disease. We need to accept it and understand how can we deal with it and manage it. So, give you an example. With my son, we talk about it. We already talked. And actually, there is a movie, I don't remember the name, but there is a movie that talks about emotions with different colors.
I know the one you mean.
And he actually watched it. And when I spoke with him about the project, the movement. I gave him like a bracelet, and I told him like this is what father is doing. And so I don't know if you remember. Sometimes I was more like impatient, or I had some reactions that unfortunately I had, and I couldn't control myself. I'm sorry for that, but it was not me. It was the disease talking and taking action on me. And he kind of, through that movie, kind of said, so you were the blue and the orange. And yes, exactly. So, so I think that we need to first start talking with the children about emotions. They understand and recognize their own emotion and accept it, not fight with it. One thing that my son luckily does is he already knows when he's feeling anxious. And it's okay. And then trying to understand what makes you feel anxious and trying to accept it. So again, open talk and not creating a taboo, which again was something that in my childhood, because it was different generations, exactly. And now everyone and even children has access to more information. And hopefully in the schools they should talk more about mental health literacy and emotions as well, which is something that doesn't happen. But yeah,
absolutely. Couldn't agree more.